Wow.
That's a great choice, man.
We
I forgot how crap it used to be at choosing songs, but that was a perfect.
Dude, here's the difference. I have full reign right now. We are not in a St. Joe's studio. We are doing this through a Skype phone call in different locations. We are back. The boys are back in town. Literally not actually, because I'm currently sitting in the Hilton Durham near Duke University in Durham, North Carolina, and Bill, I assume, is sitting in his lovely home in South Philly, or Delco, as he assumes that he calls himself, where he's from. But
I'm a maniac this summer, man. Nothing's changed for me, man.
Oh well, you know what?
Same old thing.
You know what? God bless you, Bill. Welcome back, everyone who's ever listening, even though we're not going live. I'm sorry, I'm used to saying that because we're live.
Lots. Before we start, how many listeners do we realistically get on this?
Listeners at the time, probably 20. I'd say 20.
Yeah. All right, that's fair.
20 live, and we probably get 20 to 50 who listen on YouTube. It depends on what time I put it out, and if I broadcast it on the social medias.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Bill, since we're still recording, of course, because, why not? And we got a lot to talk about. We got basketball finals. We got hockey finals. We got in the heart of baseball season. But I think I'm gonna let you go off on some of that we didn't talk about for a while because we weren't around. Side note, actually, Phillies are up 2-0 on the Cubs, top of the second with 2 outs, so Bill can be happy over there in his home.
Love that.
Burner accounts with Brian Colangelo. Now, Bill, I'm going to let you go on a rant here real quick while I sit over here and look at some rankings and go stare at the Yankees not score a run against Toronto.
Now, okay. So when I first heard about this, I believed it. This guy is like you look at him, right? He has been in his daddy's little shadow his entire life. His dad's like a 4-time executive of the year, ran USA Basketball, a real respected guy in the NBA. And then he just kind of places his son to run the Sixers and all these other teams. And his son's being very successful about it. But he's always had to live in his daddy's shadow. That's my theory on this. If the accounts are his, which now we kind of know they're not, they're probably linked to his wife. I'm sure everyone who's listening to this knows the details. I'm not going to go into them. But it's just such a Sixers thing to happen because this organization is not run in the respectful way from the top down. Josh Harris has never respected fans because he raised ticket prices the second fans had any interest in this team. I don't trust that guy, even though he freed McMill, all this crap. But I think it is such just an indicative of the way that building is ran from top down. I don't believe that the accounts were exclusively his at this point. I believe if it wasn't his wife, it was another person close to him, that he considered one of his confidants or someone he talked to that he could trust that wouldn't leak information that was then putting these tweets out. And at this point, he should be fired. There's no justifiable reason why he should be here. Even if he had no goddamn clue his wife was tweeting this crap behind his back. All trust with this guy is broken and it cannot be fixed because he's trashing his players and relieving medical information.
Allegedly.
Given Markel Fultz, a 19-year-old kid who's already screwed up in the head, talking crap on him on Twitter. It's just all bits of trust in the most important offseason in the last 25 years of the 76ers. Definitely my lifetime.
Longer than that. Yeah, maybe most important in the entire franchise history.
It's the most important one since 1983 when they got Moses Malone and finally were able to beat the Lakers in the finals. That's the only one I can think of because they never did anything. It's the most indicative thing of the Sixers. They went and got Mutombo. That was it.
Not today.
I think they got to move swiftly on this because the finals will be over in a week, maybe a week and 4 days at the most, depending on if LeBron steals one at home.
We'll get to that
in a sec.
After this.
The Sixers have been nothing ever since this season ended, and they got their ass whooped. They should not have been on the same court as Boston at the end of those games. I know we haven't talked since then. It was just a downward trend that does not look good going into this offseason between Simmons dating Kylie Jenner and Embiid dunking on dudes. Like, that's funny and all, but dude, like, come on, you're hurt all the time. Like, just get in the gym, be supervised. Love him out in the community. He's an awesome guy, but just like, tone it down a little bit. Kendall Jenner already freaking cheated on Ben Simmons, so don't worry about that. That's over. And this Colangelo thing's got to be resolved by this. Josh Harris actually showed leadership for once in his tenure as a Sixers owner, and fire the guy and hire a respected basketball guy to run the team. They can't hire like Chauncey Billups, like people are talking about. I would love it to be David Griffith, but that's a little too desperate for LeBron. But if it's a smart move and the Sixers feel like he's one of the people who run the organization, I'm fine with that.
You know what, Bill? I'm gonna cut you off for a second, even though I would.
Dude, I'm surprised. I'm surprised at myself.
That name, it hurts me because, well, personally, Brian Colangelo, he should be fired. You can't let that happen. Basically, everything that you said is right, and I'm not a fan of the Sixers. Everything that you said is right as an ownership in terms of as a higher up in that organization. It's not good. He's got to go. However, the fact that David Griffith or Griffin, whatever his name is, if he goes to the Sixers, I think that would be a brilliant move. Because I thought he would be great for the Knicks. And he would have been good for the Knicks. But in typical James Dolan fashion, he didn't give him the opportunity to, have a little extra power and more basketball control. And that's why they didn't sign him. Because James Dolan, I can go on.
That guy's. Parrish is 29. He's 30 worst owner in the NBA.
He's the reason why the Knicks are the second worst run franchise in the world, behind Cleveland.
In North American sports, yes, 100%.
In North American sports, maybe even in all of worldly renowned professional sports. Yeah. I'm not talking about some poorly run. I'm not talking about some ragtag group run in Lithuania or something like that. I'm talking about franchises that people know and people understand. There are two franchises that everyone knows that are just run literally poorly from the top, and just it makes everyone at the bottom terrible. The Cleveland Browns and the New York Knicks, and it's all because of James Dolan. Sorry.
The point about him not giving control is I think he would get a lot of control on the Sixers. I think he would have complete control.
Which is good. He should get it.
The issue would be not being Brett Brown's guy. Brett Brown wouldn't be his guy, and Brett Brown's obviously going to be elevated throughout all the BS that's gone on. So
they just signed him to a 3-year deal, though. A 3-year extension.
But you can always fire a guy. You can always just buy out a contract. It's not coaches don't make that much money. I'm saying is that butting of heads. I'm just thinking of issues that could come up because this is that's over the last. It has been 5 months and a day since the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl, and I'm back to my negativity, and it took that long. So
that doesn't surprise. That doesn't surprise me.
Devil's advocate to the smart hire point, I guess, but I do feel like that would be very smart for them to do. Hopefully that happens in the next week, and the Sixers can resolve the situation, and we can move on to talking about how we can get LeBron to the Sixers and how we can maybe get another All-Star with him.
Well, okay. Well, I understand the transition you're going here, but let me get one back thing on on the Sixers because the one big article that came out this week in particular was because we're going to try to be relevant here since we haven't talked in forever and have not done a show for our beautiful audience of between 20 to 50 people. Is that the Sixers right now have the third highest odds to win the finals. Now, I think it's all assuming that LeBron goes there.
It's like Colin Cowherd putting that on a big screen. Like that means nothing. The finals are still going on.
I know. Trust me, it means nothing, and that's why I hate when people bring out those articles like that. Like, side note about Colin Cowherd, the fact that he thinks Ben Simmons is a top 5 player in the world is abysmal, and he loses all credibility to me. But then again, he doesn't care, and he has a lot of other great takes. But whatever. So, I personally, I watched Game 1 start to finish. That was one of the best finals performances from a particular player I've ever seen in my career.
Yeah, that was the best finals performance I've ever seen in my life.
And
I can say that without a doubt. 51-8 Nate.
And
that team to essentially victory. If it wasn't for a BS change of call, which is completely within the rules for them to do, and a bonehead play by J.R. Smith, the series is 1-1.
The series is 1-1. Not only that, George Hill should have. You're paid to make free throws.
Yeah,
make your free throws. I don't care if they had 2 seconds and they made a last second shot. That's completely different compared to. People will look at Game 1 differently. If George Hill made both of his free throws, Golden State got the ball, they got it out, and Steph Curry hit a half-court shot. That's a very different outlook of Game 1 compared to the combination of, okay, 1, the refs blew the game, and 2, because the free throws would have made up for the call. You would not have brought up the call if the Cavs won or if the Warriors won by the last minute shot or the last second shot. Maybe it would have been brought up, but it would not have been emphasized on as much.
If it all didn't happen, I just feel that how it all transpired, where the call, the missed free throw, which missed free throws happen, that is a normal over the course of the game thing, which is why I didn't put as much emphasis on that, because those do happen. The key is when the guys who are on the block need to be ready to make a play once the ball is caught, which is why I feel like it's more important to focus on those two outcomes rather than the missed free throw, which he should have made. LeBron made a great play. I just don't feel like that is the reason why they lost. The reason why they lost is because this dumbass play and the refs just were ridiculous. That you can't change that call right there. It's LeBron.
You can't change the call in general, whether it's LeBron or freaking Ron Baker. Mm-hmm. That's a call that's not reviewable, and they decided to make you reviewable for no particular reason. But even in Game 2 was just a wash. Game 2 was just, you knew that they were going to win. It was just going to be the momentum from Game 1. Whatever momentum they had just got completely wiped out. It's just done. From Game 1, it's just done. From Game 2. And it was just, it was just ruined.
The Cavs are going to, they're going to get swept. Did you see the overhead shot of the bench's the bench, the time period between end of regulation and the start of halftime? What the Cavs bench looked like?
You mean the end of regulation, the start of overtime?
Yes, that's what I meant. Did you see that?
I saw the one shot of LeBron James literally being upset that they had a timeout. That almost made me shed a tear.
4-minute video. The whole video, they did not speak a word. Kyle Korver's clapping like he's actually going to do something in the freaking game. It is just the Cavs that just popped the balloon on the Cavs. And it's sad because JR, he has been
only JR.
Finals. It's JR being JR. It's just And I like JR. I never thought. I think he's a good player. He's not a starting point guard on an NBA Finals team, but
No, he was
starting
he was
shooting
the
guard.
sixth
But
man
I
of the
like
year
him.
on the
It
Knicks.
just sucks. It just sucks that it overshadows that performance. That's my main gripe with the refs and the bonehead play.
Yeah, people are not the true fans are going to remember the fact that LeBron James scored 58, 51, 8 and 8. The problem is everyone's going to remember the J.R. Smith thing as like recollection of like the Chris Webber calling a timeout.
Yeah, no, it's just one of those plays. And in game 2, you gotta give the Warriors some credit. Like they won that game on strictly like Steph had only made, I think it was 2 threes going into the fourth. There was 3. Like he came out on fire. Like he had 16 points going into the third quarter, finished with 32 or 31, something like that. He was on fire.
Yeah, he finished with 30. He finished with 33.
They did a great job defensively, like guarding LeBron from the moment he got the ball in the backcourt. They doubled him as soon as he crossed midcourt line. They made him a passer, which was I watched the shows the next day. LeBron wasn't aggressive enough. He scored 31 points and 13 assists. He probably should have had 20 if a guy made a goddamn shot.
Well, actually, here we can add
job.
Here, sorry, Bill. Are you fuzzing out? Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great, good. I can hear you too. I actually have the box score up here. Talking about talking about stuff that really grinds my gears. So, of course, typical LeBron, 44 minutes, 50% shooting, by the way, 10 of 20, 2 for 4 from 3 with 29 points, 9 rebounds and 13 assists with 2 steals and 5 turnovers. Pretty good night.
Yeah, that's a Finals MVP night.
Now, here's the thing that annoys me. You look at the 2 players that had the most shots afterwards at 18 shot attempts and 12. One was Kevin Love at 18 shot attempts, where he made 7. And you know how many times you can watch Kevin Love shoot a corner 3 and he misses almost every time? You ever watch that during the game? Like during the game where you see him shoot a 3 and you expect it to go in because, hey, remember it's Kevin Love, like he was an all-star and like he was really good on Minnesota and he was like really good for the first 2 years he was on the Cavs. And like, oh yeah, this is the guy that made 3s and averaged double-doubles because like everyone thought that he was going to be like the next great power forward.
He's going to be a Hall of Fame player one day. Like he is a Hall of Fame player. Maybe not as definite as I'm putting it, but you can make the argument. It's no one else is stepping up, and it's very frustrating. And I wanted so bad sitting there during Game 1 for the Cavs to win because I just wanted to be entertained during the series. That's all I was looking for.
Of course, but hold on, let me go back to the box score real quick because I think that's important to kind of look at because you look at guys that aren't making shots. Now, George Hill, to be fair, he made half his 3s, but 5 of 12 ain't cutting it. J.R. Smith, 2 of 9, playing 31 minutes. It's not Trevor Ariza going 0 for 12, like in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, which that boggles my mind because realistically, Houston should be in this series, and that's something that hurts me. That hurts.
I don't really believe the Warriors are so much better than Houston. The Warriors did not play their best series. They played down to the Rockets level. I think the Warriors proved that they're a better team than the Rockets.
Of course they are. But the Warriors had their worst series as Steve Kerr in Steve Kerr's playoff career. That was their worst series. And they won the series in 7 games and basically were down at halftime by 8 to a Rockets team that did not have Chris Paul and had James Harden and Clint Capella doing something. They weren't.
Well, it's the same thing when you say the Warriors almost lost Game 1 to the Cavs. Like when the Warriors played down to the competition, they're vulnerable. But when they realize, oh yeah, we have probably three to four of the top 15 players in the game, when they consciously think like that, they're unbeatable.
You have three of the best 10 pure shooters in the league. You have two of the best 3-point shooters in history.
Steph, Clay, and KD are in the top 5 in the league right now.
I know, but I'm talking about in terms of 3-point shooting history. You have Klay Thompson and Steph Curry are debatably two of the best 3-point shooters in NBA history. And you have KD, whose mid-range jumper is probably one of the best in NBA history.
That's what I'm saying. They're all top 5 scorers. Like, it's just when they all click, like that, they're just like, this team is they're very fun to watch. And I've hated them since they won the first Cavs Warriors series. I don't know why. Steph Curry has always just annoyed me a little bit.
I hate Draymond Green.
That's not, Draymond, I don't like, he's shimmying when he scored 6 points and they all came in the fourth.
Yeah.
Like, I can do without that stuff. But I think LeBron's going to lose the series. He's going to have, 6 finals losses? I think sitting back and enjoying how good the Warriors play basketball when they're actually firing is the way I'm going to watch the rest of this series and just try to appreciate it, because it's ridiculous the time we're consciously watching sports in. LeBron is the most talented player to ever play the game of basketball. Steph is the best shooter of all time. Clay is a top 5 shooter of all time, and Durant may be the best scorer I'll ever see. Just purely putting the ball in the basket. I think that's just how I'm going to go about watching the rest of this series, and then worry about LeBron as a Sixers fan, not as a basketball fan that way, and then as a Sixers fan, hoping LeBron comes in the offseason, because the series is over.
I don't want to give up on the fact that the series is over. I really don't, but because I try to look at the positive way of it. I want to see if Game 3 comes to a thing where the Warriors just blow them out at Cleveland. I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch Game 4. I know I will, because I know I will, but I'm going to just sit there and be like, all right, the Warriors will win, or it'll be as what's one of the ESPN guys says, the gentleman's sweep, which I hate calling it that, but it's true. Where you're basically winning in 5, but you lose Game 4 because, hey, you know what? We want to win on our home court because, why not? But I think something needs to happen here. I saw that. I know this isn't going to make a difference, but one of the articles that popped up on ESPN on the ESPN front thing that when I was on the front page that Rodney Hood's going to get more minutes, and you know what? For a guy that is talented as Rodney Hood is, he can actually do something that could benefit this team a lot more than J.R. Smith can, especially as a 3-and-D guy. And I know he was an idiot, but Rodney Hood can play. And I think a guy like that can be a lot more beneficial than having Jose Calderon play
I don't think.
I know it's not going to make a difference in terms of who wins the series, but it may make a game difference.
There's nothing the Cavs can do besides LeBron dropping 52 at this point now, or 53 now, to win a game. That's what has to happen, and I would love to be able to go in depth in the X's and O's of this game, but I think when it just comes down to stuff like this is so entirely simple. LeBron may be the greatest basketball player of all time. He's playing against probably 4 of the top 75 basketball players of all time, and 3 of those guys are in the top 50.
Oh, dude, Draymond Green is not a top 75 player.
Potentially.
No.
I'm saying potentially. The guy's going to end up with probably 5 championship rings. I'm not.
Cool. Robert Horry is 6.
There's nothing that can happen until there's just nothing is going to be different. I would love to be this is going to go 7 and they're going to but the Warriors aren't the Boston Celtics. The Warriors are probably one of the best two teams of all time to ever play basketball. So
No, this run will be compared to the runs of old, whether it's the the LeBron Heat run, the Jordan Bulls runs, the Bird runs, the Magic runs, and even the Kobe Shaq runs. Those, even though this will be brought to a higher level, especially because even if KD re-signs, which he probably will, I want to see 2 years down the line when Klay Thompson's deal should be up soon. And if I was Klay Thompson, I'd personally bounce because
he may go get the money, but by that point,
and by the way, he fits on any team. And I hate to say this, but he would look kind of good in a Sixers uniform.
That's what I just said, brother. I know. I feel that too. That's something that it's all depending on what happens with LeBron and free agency in this year and whether Brian Colangelo gets a can or not.
But they won't be able to trade for him.
I think something that's just for my personal, I love basketball. I don't know why. I love the NBA. It's just rubs off on me well. I love the entertainment of it. I just can't wait to watch the Warriors play in Game 3. And I'm going to hate it the entire time I'm going to watch it. But I think you just really got to sit back and, appreciate what the hell we're watching, because the only thing you can compare it to is when our parents were growing up and Magic, Bird, Jordan, and Isaiah Thomas were all, very in their primes and competing against each other. Because those are the type of people, the type of legends we're in the middle of watching, and I think that's worth noting. We as a group need to get out of the whole LeBron and Jordan argument, because that's never going to be settled. The one side's ever going to be happy, and the other side's never going to be happy. It's the same thing that's going on in politics right now. Just appreciate what the hell is going on right now, and I don't think
anyone's appreciate what's going on in politics right now. But
yeah, okay, that's what I'm saying. Both sides are never going to be happy in that argument.
Oh, absolutely.
But, I just think it's the series will wrap up. Maybe LeBron will steal a game, but it's a wrap.
I think Game 1 was the killer. I think if they had any chance, it was them going to take Game 1, and JR blew it.
Speaking of politics, kind of a good transition. What do you think about happened with the whole Eagles and Trump thing?
That's
not to get too politicky, but what was your perspective of it as a non-Eagles fan? I'm curious.
As a non-Eagles fan, I'm I'm not. You could tell there was a couple Eagles that were very outspoken about it, especially Chris Long at the time. That was very outspoken about it. I would say he was more at the forefront. Him and Malcolm Jenkins, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It doesn't help that the NFL did a poor job of actually not dealing with this a long time, not having anything beforehand. The NBA always had a thing where you stand up for the national anthem.
Great point.
They always had a policy where the NBA said stand up for the national anthem. The NFL never had that, and Colin Kaepernick did not violate anything in the NFL. He just made him look bad. Am I happy that he sat down for the national, stood on his knees or sat down? No, I hate that personally. I'm not one who's gonna boycott the NFL for someone that for people that don't stand or stay in the locker room. I hate that. I'm gonna sit there and watch my football either way. I don't want to deal in the politics of it, and I don't care if the viewership goes down because I will watch it all the time. If it means that the play is gonna start declining or whatever, because I think to this day football is the best game ever, and I say that with the most passion I could possibly say it in a room at 8:56 at night without yelling and waking up other people in this hotel. And I honestly think that let it's going to be something that'll never be solved in recent time.
Yeah,
Let Trump
no,
be
it's
angry. No one, you know that whether LeBron already said something that if the Cavs win, he's not going to go, and if the
well,
Warriors win, they're not going to go. So,
I mean, the Warriors already did not go.
and they're not going to go again. So,
From my perspective is along the same lines of, I think we differ a little bit whether I think I personally don't have any problem with someone not standing for the national anthem. I think once you censor people into talking what they do, I think that's the more un-American thing. But that's a whole different argument that not to be said. I think it's a shame for the people who didn't get the experience of seeing the Eagles there. I obviously would love to have seen it, whether it's Donald Trump, who I don't have a problem saying I don't particularly like, but I would have loved to have seen the president and the Eagles and Jeffrey Lurie and a trophy.
yeah, because guess what? That's tradition. That's what
That's what it's
happens
supposed
when.
to be about. And I think that's my biggest, disappoint. It's because it's not like I'm angry as an Eagles fan. Like, I don't like the lies being spread about the team because they do great stuff as a community. It's undeniable. That's not fandom. That's a fact.
Oh,
It's
they do.
undeniable that they're one of the most active teams in their local communities. And, as a kid who grew up here, the Eagles and always had a great presence. So I think it would have been great to honor that more. I wish they did that. I think it's just a shame that it's even an issue. It's a dumb, stupid thing that really has no significance whatsoever other than it's a tradition. And I think traditions should be kept alive whether or not you like the guy in office or you don't, because it's a respect for the office. It's not – you're not – if it was me and I'm on the team, yes, I don't like the guy, but I like and respect the office. So that would be my look at it.
Yeah, no, that's a good.
Not that we didn't even plan on talking about this. That's just what came to my head when I mentioned politics.
Well, no, it's fair because it's a very relevant topic that happened today, and you know what, and that's the one and that's the thing that gets what kind of I hate to get in a political rant, but like if you think about it, like the one thing that gets lost and that you feel like Donald Trump is kind of bringing down the respect for what the White House really stands for and what the president stands for, because it makes it sound like it's a joke or like a comedy bit.
Yeah, and this is talked at exhaustion at whatever that freaking word
ad
is.
nauseum.
Yeah, ad nauseum. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you for appeasing my Delco accent. But
I thought it's South Philly.
It's for people that are way more educated and experienced than me or you to discuss. But it's something cool. Speaking of American, how about those Yankees? No, I'm kidding. They're not America's team.
Yes, they are. What are you talking about? It's not the Phillies, who are side note five up 5-0 bottom of the third, and Yankees hit a grand slam 4-1. So as we last spoke.
Yeah, that's where somewhere I wanted to go. This just coincidentally, we planned this in one day and maybe under 5 hours. This is like the time in a baseball season where you not benchmark, where you reflect. It's like the horse racing. There's like the quarter pole. Like we just recently passed that last week. I think our predictions were pretty damn right, dude.
Yeah, the Yanks hit a slump, and then they got hot, and now they're one game back of the Sox, and all their prospects are doing well. Didi got off to his hot start, and then he hit a big slump. What's his name? Stan's doing kind of better. Judge is still doing okay, and Gary's doing great. Montgomery sadly just got Tommy John surgery, but they'll probably trade for a pitcher, and yeah, I got nothing else to say. Side note, by the way, the Phils are only 2.5 back, one and a half behind the Nationals.
If we're doing this a week ago, the Phils are in first place.
Yes,
and they hit a rough skid out west. They're in the midst of a 10-game. They're in the last leg, I should say. They have 3 games in Chicago starting tonight, which you're giving updates on because my TV is not on behind me. but they did hit a rough patch. I think they only took one from the Dodgers, and they just had the worst series in San Francisco, which Arrieta called out the team, which I personally liked. I liked how the older guys stepped up with accountability. I think that's great on a young baseball team. He called out Kidry, which only Phil's baseball fans really know the details of it. So I'm speaking to these people, but I think once the Phils get home, this bounce back in this early game or early run producing in the game is a good sign. I think once the Phils get back home, young team, they'll hit another spark. This was a necessary. The Phils were overperforming what they were capable of, and they're coming back down. I still think they're on pace. They could sneak in as a wild card team, but I don't think they're divisional contenders, and they're most certainly not World Series contenders. They're a team that's a year away, who needs to figure some positional things out, but that's exactly what we said in the beginning of the season. Maybe we were even more conservative than that on the Phils. Mm. So, as a fan, I'm into watching the Phillies now, which is awesome. I can come home, and if the finals aren't on or the cup isn't on, which we haven't even got to the cup yet.
Oh, we'll get to that.
We'll get there.
Oh, you're gonna appreciate my opinion on this, but
yes, I will. I think a lot of Phil's fans are coming back, and I think that's very good for the Phillies in particular, especially with the offseason that is looming with Machado and Harper.
Very, very, very much. Now, side note, actually, going on with your Phillies thing on their West Coast slump, they only won 2 out of their 7 games on the road. Yeah, there's past 7 games. They won 2 at They won 2 at the Dodgers. 2 of their 4 Dodgers games and got swept against the Giants, only scoring 1 run.
The 1 run. Guess who? Do you know who scored it? Do you know who drove it in?
Bartolo Colon.
Well, that was a fantastic guess. Jake Arrieta hit a home run. That was the only run scored.
Well, cool. It was a pitcher, so I was close. It was close enough.
Wow. Did you really not know that? Because that was a weirdly good coincidental guess.
No, I didn't. I had no idea who it was. I know Bartolo Colon's not on the Phillies, and I thought
pitcher hitting homer is the thing where I'm going.
Oh, I know exactly where you're going here. I still think one of the funniest clips ever is there's somebody pointed out. There was somebody on Twitter that somebody pointed out was one of the greatest things ever. You'll never forget these days. It's the one guy where the guy with a broken leg was Kurt Gibson home run and the Reggie Jackson home run, and then it showed the one where Bartolo Colon in a Mets uniform cranked a homer to right field. It was the funniest thing ever. It was the 1-year anniversary of that, and I started. It was the best thing I saw all day. Speaking, you know what? Bad radio. Or bad podcasting, technically, because we're not on a radio stream. We are on podcast. We are on technically a podcast right now, even though I'm kind of getting lost here. Get back to the formatting. I'll edit this out later. The hockey cup, the Stanley Cup. Now, I was right in saying that from my hockey predictions. I was right that Vegas would get to the finals. I was not right that the Caps would get to the finals. And I hate to say this. I am so happy that the Caps are up 3-1, and I'll tell you why.
I am in complete agreement with you, and I think we're on the same page with this. Yeah, I can already sense it.
You'd sense it because, well, one, I like Ovi. I want to see him. I kind of want to see him win a cup, even though he's top arch enemy of the Rangers and definitely the Flyers and the Penguins, but that doesn't matter because everyone hates the Penguins. But nothing would grind my gears more as a fan of hockey, as a fan of an original 6 hockey team, and a fan of a fan of a hockey team that people care about hockey. Expansion teams in their first year should not win the Stanley Cup or whatever. They just shouldn't. They shouldn't. Not some team in Vegas where it was just created because it could fill the T-Mobile Arena every other time they don't have a UFC event in there or a concert where Carrot Top can play. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's good for hockey because it's a good story, but it's good that the Caps are up 3-1 and the Caps are really going to win.
A
superstar like Ovi should have a cup. As a casual hockey fan, when I think of like things about hockey that would pique my interest, it's when Sidney Crosby's playing. It's when Yager back like in the day
or Ovechkin now
came to the Flyers. Like that piqued my interest. Like Stars winning is what brings casual fans, which hockey needs more of, like me, to watch the actual games.
Or the big markets, or like the original 6 markets, or even like Canada teams for that matter.
That doesn't drive a guy like me to hockey. Ovechkin playing in the finals, I've watched every game. I've watched every game of the Stanley Cup Finals. I do not do that on normal years. I'll watch if it's like a game 6 or game 7.
But I'm telling you, if a team like Chicago out in the West plays a team like the Penguins, the Rangers, or the Bruins, or like the Flyers, or like those teams that were like the first 10, 12 teams in the league, or even a team like Toronto, that core group of teams are that turn people, not just like casual fans like you, but like fans from like in those big market areas that will turn on the television and watch it. So that every game's on NBC and not half the series is on NBC Sports Network.
I think Vegas has brought more fans than a Blackhawks. Like I just wouldn't care about a Blackhawks Toronto. I just wouldn't care about that series. I think the Vegas thing is good for this year because it has brought, I think it's a cool story. I like turning on SportsCenter in the morning and listening to them talk about Vegas because it's even though I don't know a lot about the guys on the team, I think it's a cool story, but I think it's good they're not winning because that would be a joke of every hockey guy says, oh, the NBA stinks. An expansion guy potentially could have won your expansion team could have potentially won your trophy. That just would have been a joke to me. So I think it's good for hockey.
I think the story here's how I view it. I already told you how I view it, but in terms of what the team has done is truly incredible, and I'm going to bring it up to the let's say 4 people, or it's probably more people, but the coaching staff, particularly the head coach of that team, and the people who picked those players, because the guys who did that, who were able to do that, as well as I know they made a couple trade deadlines too, the front office of that team, as well as the coaching, any guys who are on, those guys should literally, in my opinion, can have a job in the NHL for the next 10 years. In any team. Because if you're able to do something as a startup like that and win the Western Conference of the NHL and almost had a chance to win the Stanley Cup, even though they're down 3-1 and they're probably not going to come back. If they have a shot, anyone has a shot in hockey, but it's gonna be really tough. I think personally, Washington ends it at 6 in Washington at Game 6, but
yeah, I think that's a very strong possibility as well. I'd put money on that.
Yeah, because the one thing that people were intrigued on, and especially in this series, was Vegas's defense was very, very good, and of course, how can you stop Ovi? What is the offense? It's kind of like the offense. It's like, you know how in football the big thing is the offense versus the defense, that people care about that matchup. The one team, let's say for example, the Giants' offense against the Eagles' defense, that whole ordeal is people will pay to see that, and I think that was what the big thing that people cared about was, okay, Vegas' defense can hit and is good, but Washington can score because of Backstrom and they have a top 5 player in the world in Ovechkin who can score on a dime, and that in that crowd in that game in that 5th game where the 4th game where they scored 6 goals, it was just over. You just knew, okay. I hate quoting part of my take, but it's true. It's the Caps' year.
Yeah, I think it's fair, and I completely agree with everything you said. I think it is the Caps' year. more interestingly, we haven't talked since we could actually legally sports bet now, which is very funny.
Yes, it's very funny. I can't wait till they open a sports betting casino right next to MetLife Stadium, and everyone's gonna go there after the Giants probably lose by 20 to the Seahawks when they go there at home.
Sounds like a plan. I'll see you in your sorrow.
Yeah, no, don't even.
After the whole debacle with Trump this week, I couldn't want the Eagles to go back to back more than anything else in the world.
The Eagles aren't going to go back to back.
Oh man, do you see that report? Carson Wentz is doing better. He's going to be ready week 1.
Cool.
Today.
Yeah. In side note, even though he's not listening, because we are not on that widespread out. Thoughts and prayers go out to Giants GM Gettleman. Guy has lymphoma. Like, that's really horrible.
That sucks. I didn't hear about that.
It's terrible. I'm not trying to bring anything down, but like, it was really, really just awful. I saw that on the news. I'm like, that just sucks. That really sucks. But
was he still the GM?
No, he still is the GM. He's the new GM that signed this year.
Oh, yes. All right. I just think the Giants are so bad that they got rid of like another GM.
No, they got rid of Jerry Reese because Jerry Reese only made 2 good picks in his entire. Actually, no. To be fair, 2 great picks and 4 in total. Like, I'd say 4 in total good to great picks in his entire career as a GM that I can recall off the top of my head. Maybe I'm wrong. For anyone that's listening, you could tweet us at Rambling Sport, other stuff. I know you probably won't. Or leave a comment section when we post the YouTube video out eventually, hopefully by tonight, depending on how I feel. If anything, by tomorrow morning, the latest. I will try and edit the video while I'm eating breakfast at this medical thing that I'm doing because old Lutsy Poo over here is trying to become healthier, and I think that's the best way to help myself.
Got it, bro. Love that.
Oh, of course. We're all trying to make changes here, and this is the first one of the summer. Hopefully, we'll try to do more, as much as we can this summer. There will be updates eventually for those who are listening about the progression of the show going into the fall. I don't want to talk about it now. We're still planning out some stuff about that. Right now, we will probably keep it at this thing where we will be doing it strictly through the YouTube channel and not through Radio 1851, strictly because, well, 1, I won't be on campus this summer, and 2, Bill probably won't be on campus this summer. And
I'm 2 classes, and I work in Ballackinwood now.
Well, yeah, but I'm not going to be down there this summer. And the fall is obvious. The fall is a whole other story, which we'll explain to our audience in due time. So that's something that we'll get to eventually. So on that note, Yanks are going to win, and the Phils are going to probably win. So I guess this is the good way to sign off at this point, because we might as well end off on a happy note, because the Phillies are going to go beat the Cubs, which doesn't surprise me, and the Yanks are going to get another win, which is very typical.
Knock on wood, man.
What?
Yeah, knock on wood.
Knock on wood that the Phils are gonna get what? Like, get somewhere close to like playoff redemption.
Just knock on wood that they win tonight.
They're up 5-0, man. Like, come on.
You never know with our bullpen, man.
That's really true. I'll tell you what, we did run a little short today, but you know what? I'm perfectly content with it. We got our stuff in and out. We don't have a third person wandering around because we don't know how to 3-way Skype, and Oscar's probably asleep or doing something a lot more important than.
God knows what he's doing right now.
Oscar's. We're not like you're talking about Oscar like he's a wild man. He's no wild man. It's not like Steve or like Bat.
This is an off-air conversation.
Yes, it is. And on that note, my name is Lutz. South Philly Bill here is not on my left. He's not on my left. He is in a different state, and we are out.